Hi, I'm Tom with EV Universe. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive on the Ford Mach-E infotainment screen. As of this recording in May of 2024, this is the most current software update available for the Sync software. My hope and goal for this video is to show everything that this user interface is going to do with the infotainment software of the newest Sync update. I'm going to start from the startup screen. The last thing that I had turned on was our map, so that's where it defaults back to. Down here at the bottom, you got this volume knob. This is how you're going to control volume for your radio. That's all here for this knob. If you want to control your fan speed from the car, you do so with the same knob, but you hit the fan button first. And then now you can see down here that the fan button is spinning, and then we can adjust fan speed from the same knob. Temperature controls for passenger, same deal. We can control the knob, or we can just use the touch pads here, and that'll change your temperature. And inside of the HVAC controls, we can set if we want it to be on defrost, or at your face, or at your feet, or all three, or just two, or just one. Again, it's all pretty standard settings that kind of exist across all car platforms. I do find it a little clunky to have to switch between the fan and temperature and use the same dial as the volume, because ultimately what will happen is you hit the fan speed, and if you aren't quick enough to get to the knob to turn it off, and then you end up turning up volume. Aside from that, you can set it to auto fan, and it's automatically going to figure out where it needs to be temperature wise and putting air where it needs to go, or your max rear defroster, or just a normal rear defrost. Some Mach-E's will come with the heated seats. That would option would show up here on the screen. This card is not equipped with that. Across the top of the screen, we've got the outside temperature, the signal strength of the phone, and the phone's battery. We have profile options here for whoever is operating the vehicle. Right now it's just set to me, and my wife has a profile in here as well, and we can run a guest profile too. From our main home screen, this gives us access to our apps. A lot of these apps are going to be self-explanatory. Radio, pretty simple. What do you know? Taylor Swift is on KHQ. So AM, FM radio, Sirius radio if you want to pay for it. It comes with a subscription when you first buy the car brand new. Your phone app automatically takes you to your CarPlay, if you have CarPlay, or Android Auto, depending on whatever option you're in. Navigation takes you to the native navigation for the Ford app. This shows me here at this park on Long Lake in Grand Traverse County. You can zoom out, you can set destinations, whether we want to go to recent locations. You're able to plug in your destinations of where you want to go. And because it's an electric vehicle, it's going to start up and give you notifications of that we've got insufficient range. So we're going to add charging stops along the way. It's going to take us 4 hours and 52 minutes to get to Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Obey traffic laws. Be alert and use voice commands while driving.
Always. And then it's going to give us our detail segment of driving, and what it's going to want for us to do is to make 2 charging stops on the way down to Ann Arbor, which is going to be about, typically a 4 to 5 hour drive. So it spells out that we're going to stop for 20 minutes in West Branch, and then we're going to stop for another 25 minutes at this Starbucks in Bridgeport, and that'll be enough to get us to our destination. One cool thing that I do like about the Sync software is that it gives you a radius on the mapping software of how much range you have in this moment. So with my current state of charge at 66%, this circle is everywhere that I would be able to drive. And I think that's kind of fun. The media we'll skip over, because that's going to be just like your CarPlay or Android Auto, and the same for the Android Auto or CarPlay. Those are features that you will have to pair your device with your car in order to access, and we'll get into that in a little bit. The charging tab Right now, the car is showing us that it is at 66%, which gives me 134 miles of range. Because we're not plugged in, it's not going to give us a whole lot of that data, but this would be where you would go to monitor your charging speeds. You also have the ability to reset your EV driving history, where you can just press and hold. And similar to a gas vehicle where you might reset your fuel economy, this is the same exact thing. So because I might drive with a little bit more of a lead foot than say my wife does, now this car will reset itself to what it would expect its standard to be and relearn our driving habits to give a better range predictor going forward. The departure and comfort setting has to do with your preconditioning, and you would ultimately control this through your Ford Pass app, and you can set which time you want to depart and whether or not you want the cabin to be warm. As you can see from here on this screen, the next departure for this car is set for 7:30 a.m. on a Wednesday, and it has the comfort level set to warm. So when I get up to take the kids to school, this car will be warm and ready to go leaving the driveway. The next option across the board here is the Charge Assist. Now the Charge Assist is going to give you a little bit of an idea of what charging stations are close to you based on the network. So right now I've got a charger that's 6.8 miles away from me that charges between 6 to 62 kilowatt hours. That's pretty much going to be the fastest charger that we see up here in the northern Michigan area, with the exception of Cadillac or Gaylord, which have some faster ones. But we can scroll through and see what charging stations are available and their distances from us. And if you decide that you want to go to one, you can just hit on the navigate button and it'll take you there. So from this calculation, it tells us that once we get to this charging station, our battery will be at 60%, which I have found to be fairly modest in its assessment. It will probably be a little bit more than that by the time we get there. Next one across the line is tire pressure. Again, pretty self-explanatory. It's going to go ahead and give you a reading of the tire pressure in each vehicle. This particular tire right here, I'm having a problem with because I had a flat tire in it and I patched it with the Fix-A-Flat that came with the car. When I did that, however, the gunk from the Fix-A-Flat plugged the TPS sensor, and I'm getting an error now as a result of it. All right. The next option here is for trips, and this is going to give you an idea of where your energy is going while you're driving. So right now, we have not driven anywhere since the car has been turned on, so it's giving us this generic reading. However, if we were underway, maybe have been driving for 20 miles, it's going to give us an idea of where energy is being distributed. In a warm day like today where it's 59 degrees outside, the majority of the electricity is going to be spent on driving. If you have colder days or really, really hot days, there is going to be an increased use of either for climate or exterior temperature that's going to steal away some of your electricity, which ultimately is heating or cooling the cabin and the battery. Your accessories is going to be things like your phone and other stuff that would be plugged in to the vehicle that don't account for its driving or heating or cooling. You're able to set trips, which this gives a good explanation of overall driving. At this point, this particular trip has 5,575 miles on it and going for 838 hours, but you can see that 72% of that 5,000 miles has gone to driving. 17% to climate use, 8% to exterior temperature, and 3% to accessories. And we're just going to reset that one and start it over. When you get a Ford Mach-E, you do not get a paper owner's manual, but it is contained here within the infotainment screen. So anything that you could possibly want to know about this car is available and it's searchable. You can come in and go by categories, looking for general information, anything about connectivity, vehicle care, maintenance, the panels, doors, windows, driving, operating. All of these things are available here to you.
Record any likes, dislikes, or suggestions about the experiences with your vehicle, and then select Send.
Do you guys have anything you want to say? Let me know in the comments and we'll say it here in another video.
No feedback was sent.
Yet. Okay, that pretty much runs us through the apps that are available that are native to the infotainment screen. The next tab over is for entertainment. Now, we do have YouTube that is available. YouTube is only going to work while the vehicle is in park. As you can see, I haven't paired it to the car, but you would scan this QR code, you pair it, and then it runs off your phone or the car's Wi-Fi to play YouTube videos on the screen. And in my experience, when I have connected it, it's not that great. I ultimately would just as soon watch it on my phone instead of on the screen, just because of the aspect ratios and how quickly my phone operates as compared to the sync system. But if you like little games, there are lots of those, from tiles, blocks, lane change, double sum, Sudoku, jigsaw, bridge battle, parking lot, sketch. My kids do like sketch. Just come in and you can color on the screen. pretty simple there. These are most of the apps that are built in to it. Now we can get into the controls and settings. The first window in the controls and settings is going to be where I spend most of my time changing anything in the car when I'm driving around. Across the top, you see these three little bubbles. There is the frunk open. You push that, your front comes up. Frunk is up now. So when you're plugged in at a public charging station, your car does lock on to that charge handle so that it can't inadvertently come unplugged. So hitting this unlock key, if it were activated, would allow your car to shut the charging off from that station and then be able to disengage the charging handle, which is a safety feature that ultimately stops the flow of electricity from the charger to your car. The next one over is for releasing your trunk hatch. Same deal, you just push that and it releases the hatch on the rear tailgate. This image here really relates to the drive mode. And now there's three different drive modes on the Mach-E Select, which this one is. You have unbridled, which is your, they call it the exhilarating drive. The machine and rotor lighting is one, and it's more responsive in acceleration and steering, which, sure. Your mid-tier there is going to be engage, and it changes everything to this lighter blue color, and it changes your display above the steering wheel as well. And then we've got whisper, which is a little bit of a softer blue, and this is supposedly be the calmer, smoother drive. I honestly don't notice much difference between the three drive modes. It all seems pretty fast and handles well to me, but I just keep it there for fun. So one pedal driving you can turn off in the Mach-E. It's just a matter of toggling that switch. I keep it on all the time. The propulsion sound. The Mach-E does have propulsion sound that it'll create inside of the cabin, which would mimic engine noise. I will show that off to people at times, but ultimately I don't really use it. And then auto hold. Auto hold is a feature that when your car is decelerating, because of the one pedal driving, the car will come to a stop and it holds itself at stop. You don't have to keep your foot on the brake. It's just a matter of keeping your car there until you hit the accelerator to go again. Into our sound tab. This ultimately just allows you to be able to change your audio settings. It's pretty standard like on most cars. There's nothing that terribly stands out here, but you can change your treble, your mid-range, your bass. You can adjust your balance and fade. You're able to have it set for speed compensated sound, and then set for occupancy, whether it's just the driver or all seats, which is just going to tailor where that sound gets put. Phone list. This is where you would go in to add a device to the car, which we're not going to do now just for the sake of time, and I don't want to mess up my phone that's already on here. Driver assistance features. So auto hold, which was on the previous control screen, exists again here. Cruise control. There's a couple different options. You have normal cruise control or adaptive cruise control. Normal is pretty simple and explanatory. That's just where you set your car at 55 miles per hour. It's going to stay at 55 miles per hour until you make it stop. Adaptive cruise control uses the sensors on the front of the car to detect the vehicles in front of you, and it will slow and adjust your vehicle speed to the speed of the vehicle in front. So if your cruise is set at 55 and you come up behind someone who's going 50, this car will not rear end them. This car will notice the car in front of you, and it's going to adjust your speed to match theirs in order to just make it a simpler driving experience for you. So it is nice if a scenario where you have somebody who is fluctuating with their speeds and you want to be on cruise control, the car is just going to figure that out for you. Lane centering with hands-free, just an option you can keep on with the car. It's uses the cameras to know where you are within the lanes, assuming that you have a white line on the right and a yellow line on the left. All right, so in here under the cruise control settings still, we have predictive speed assist, which ultimately comes to the vehicle is going to try to guess how fast you should be going into a corner, and so it's going to try to guess that for you and help you slow down. I keep that turned off because I don't want that many autonomous features functioning in the vehicle. In-lane repositioning, again, that's turned on. That kind of keeps your car centered. And then lane change assist has to do when you're using Blue Cruise on the freeway and you want to change lanes. Once Blue Cruise is activated, you can hit your turn signal and the vehicle will automatically change lanes for you, which is pretty slick when you use it. Speed limit assist, this is just going to give you a warning if you're going over the posted speed limit that the navigation software thinks you're within. I have found that at times that speed limit warning isn't accurate because it thinks you're in a 25 mile per hour zone when you're really in a 55. Also, if you want to break the speed limit and you don't want the warning constantly, maybe keep that turned off. So the lane keeping system in the car, ultimately what it's going to do is it uses the cameras on the mirrors that's going to detect the yellow or white lines depending on what side of the road they're on, and it's going to keep your car centered in that lane, and it gives you a little vibration on your wheel if you get too close to one side or the other. Pre-collision assist is a pretty handy deal. It does have sensors on the front of the car that will detect how quickly you're approaching on vehicles in front of you, and if the vehicle's computer senses that you're likely to crash if you don't immediately stop, it will activate emergency braking for you if you have it enabled. And it's also going to give you alerts and pop-ups on the screen just to allow you to have that split second to pay attention to make sure you're stopping. In the year and a half that I've used this car, I've had that occur to me maybe 3 or 4 times, and I've really appreciated it when it's happened. The rear view camera delay, ultimately what it does, it just keeps the rear view camera on after you've finished reversing and you've put the car back into drive. It's something I keep turned off. The blind spot information system uses sensors on the back quarter panel of the Mach-E to detect whether or not there would be a car in your blind spot. Then if it does detect it, it puts a little warning indicator on your rear view mirror, which will make it so you don't have to look over your shoulder. I still would just to be safe, but that's a feature that's available and I do find it pretty handy. Cross traffic alert is really handy when you're in a parking lot, and if you're backing out of a spot you may not necessarily see that there's cars coming, but this rear end sensor will detect it and it does give you alert. And it's going to give you alert on the heads up display in front of your steering wheel, and it's going to tell you which direction that moving vehicle is coming from. Okay, reverse brake assist ultimately functions the same way as the blind spot monitoring and your cross traffic alert, but it's going to use those sensors in the back of the car that's just going to let you know that you're about ready to hit something. I keep it turned off because I use the cameras for that just the same, and I also find it to be extra sensitive and just sort of a unneeded annoyance. Driver alert. It's going to tell you if you are being inattentive. Now, the way it does that is that there are cameras just above the steering wheel that detect movement in your eyes, and it works through sunglasses and it works in the dark. But that particular feature can be turned on for driving all the time, but it's automatically going to be on if you're using Blue Cruise or the adaptive cruise control. I think that is everything for driver assistance. Let's jump into the vehicle. Now, vehicle power down timer, the vehicle, this is set so that it shuts down after 30 minutes of being inactive. It's just a feature to save your battery life. The rear occupant alert is a feature that just pops up on this main screen to tell you to check your back seat so you don't forget your kids and they don't cook in the hot sun. That's a bad day. Speaking of which, what's up, buddy?
I didn't tell you to make more people more come.
You think more people are going to come? That's possible. If they do come, are you going to play with them?
No, just make me more not scared.
Oh, okay. I hope that happens.
I found something.
What'd you find?
A real bug.
Let me see. That looks like a bee, buddy. It's a honeybee. A little bit. So the My Key feature is pretty cool. It allows you to pair your cell phone to the car through the Ford Pass app, which lets you use your phone as a key. Some other manufacturers are doing it as well, but like for right now, I don't have my car key fob with me. I just have my phone. But it would be through here that you'd use to create your key and pair your mobile device. And we're not going to jump into that now because I don't want to mess up my own. We'll skip the onboard modem serial number. Alarm system is set. It can remind you to turn it on every single time or not, which is my choice. And then it allows you to either turn your motion sensors on or off, and I keep them on. Your remote start setup, which should be synonymous with the preconditioning, is something that you do through your Ford Pass app on your phone, but it allows you to do your remote start. So with your remote start, it allows you those options to either set it for 5, 10, or 15 minutes. I have mine set for auto climate because maybe it's a really hot day and you start it, the car's automatically going to know it's hot outside, it's hot in the car when you turn the air conditioning on to get it dropped down to temperature. But keep in mind that you're only going to be able to run this cycle twice. So if you've got it set at 15 minutes, you can do it twice at 15 minutes to give you a total of 30. Windows, through the Ford Pass app, you can do the remote open or remote close. And it's just a button on your phone that you'll hold down, and that is going to roll all your windows down or roll all your windows up. That feature is only going to work if you are within Bluetooth range of the car, and you aren't able to do that through your key fob. It's only the app, but it has to be toggled on here first. All right, the wiper settings. The courtesy wipe. Not to be confused with the courtesy flush, but similar. So the courtesy wipe, when your wipers go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and you turn them off, a lot of times you might end up with that last little bit of spray. The courtesy wipe is just that last one. Rain sensing, self-explanatory. There's a sensor on the front of the windshield that's going to detect moisture and then turn the wipers on. With my reverse wiper being toggled on, what this allows is for the rear wiper to come on when the front wipers have been activated. Lighting. Auto high beam, I have that set up. It's really, really slick. I do appreciate just being able to drive, and the car will detect whether or not there's other vehicles on the road in front of me and automatically turns the high beams on or turns them off. I've had that feature on other vehicles and it was less reliable, but in the Mach-E it is always seemingly perfect. Daytime running lamps, self-explanatory. Welcome lighting is the puddle lights they'd otherwise be called, and on the Mach-E those puddle lights are the Mustang emblem that gets displayed as a logo on the ground from the rearview mirrors. And your auto lamp delay is how long your lights of your car will stay on after you exit. You can set it for 10, 20, or 120 seconds. I have it set to 20. Door locks. Handful of different features for the door locks. Auto unlock, it just allows the car to unlock all of its doors once you have put the vehicle into park. The miss lock chip is when your vehicle is going to chirp or beep if a door, trunk, or tailgate are not properly closed when you've left the vehicle. Walk away lock. When you have walked away from your car and it doesn't detect your fob or your phone any longer, it automatically locks your doors. There's no need for having to worry about locking when you leave. The switch inhibit prevents the vehicle from being unlocked from within the vehicle. And then audible feedback portion allows your vehicle to chirp or beep twice if you lock the vehicle remotely within 3 seconds. So like if you do that confirmation, like I'm going to push the button 10 times to make sure it's locked, that audio feedback is just going to let you know that yes, you did in fact lock it. Exterior lamps feedback. That is just going to be your lights flashing when you lock your vehicle. That's the one I keep on. I am way good with the light flashing. I don't necessarily appreciate the horn honking. And then the remote lock. The remote unlock, you can set it to do all the doors or just the driver's door. And that's just a universal feature you have there. Door pad key code. You've got the 5-button push code, which is represented by 10 different numerics, and this is a pretty standard feature on Ford. There's the factory door code, and you can enter in your own if you want, but it needs to be 5 digits. The tire mobility kit just lets you a reminder to let you know that you ought to check your tires, and I have it set to 4 years. The backup start passcode. What the backup start passcode does for you is it allows you to be able to start, drive, operate this vehicle if you do not have a key. If in my instance right now I'm using my phone as a key and I were to lose my phone or my phone battery were to go dead, then I could be stranded, but I would then utilize my backup start passcode and that would allow the vehicle to start. The brake coach basically encourages you to use the regenerative braking and to try to mitigate the amount of brakes you're using, because with using the regenerative braking, it benefits you by throwing electricity back into the vehicle. And then low battery warnings. Low battery warnings, I have it set right now to give me that alert when I have less than 20 miles of range. I've never had to use that feature. And then we've talked about the EV driving history, which we've already reset on a previous screen. Jumping into general, this is going to be where you're going to be able to pick your units if you want it to be in English language or if you want it to be in French or Spanish. Those options are all there. Fahrenheit versus Celsius, and whether you want your measurement units in imperial or metric, it's all there and available to you. Touchscreen beep, that stuff I have turned off. The sync feature, like right now, this particular car is set on the Sync 4 software. And then if you want to read all this, you can, but it's kind of boring. And then we have software licenses. You can reset the car. For the display feature, I like to have my instrument cluster in dark mode, and I have the center display mode in auto. Okay, and then we jump into the connectivity feature, which we have connected vehicle features, which is a lot of things in here to dive through. Whether or not you want to share your location data, your vehicle data, driving data, all of these different things get sent back to Ford for their own review. You've got features like the Ford Assistant, whether you want to upload your phone contact names. One thing that I've seen a lot about is the insurance related data, and apparently that can't even be turned on right now, but there have been some reports of other automakers providing insurance related data to insurance companies, which could speak to your specific driving. And with Ford right now, this feature is completely turned off. I can't even activate it if I wanted to. Jumping into Bluetooth, I've got my vehicle name set as the Mustang Mach-E. Right now the Bluetooth is turned off on my Mach-E because it's connected to the phone via Wi-Fi for Apple CarPlay. That's another whole conversation. We have Wi-Fi networks, which we can jump into, or the vehicle hotspot, which currently I am not paying for the mobile data for Ford. If I need data on this car, I just hotspot my phone's Wi-Fi to the car, and we use it that way. But if you wanted to, you can pay for that subscription, and this is how you're going to jump in to do all those things. Wireless app projection is just going to be synonymous with your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Software updates. My car currently is set up for automatic updates occurring every day, any day at 1 a.m. So the most recent update that I received, and it's been completed, is for the Tesla supercharger network. I still don't have my adapter, waiting on you, Ford. But as soon as I get that adapter, I'll be able to use the version 3 or 4 Tesla superchargers. And then Ford Assistant, if you want to use the voice commands for help, you can. And then if you want Ford to listen for the wake-up word, you can. I honestly never use this, and I probably won't, as so long as I have a Siri and I Google at my fingertips. The Ford Assistant just feels clunky. Amazon Alexa is an option within the Ford Sync platform. I haven't turned it on. I don't use Alexa in my home or anywhere else. I try to avoid it as much as I can, but it's here if you like it and you want to use it. And then Valet Mode, it allows you to put in your temporary valet passcode, and then you'd be able to turn the car over at that point to a valet, and you don't have to worry about it being improperly used. So once we're away from all of those.
And that is everything for our deep dive into the Ford Mustang Mach-E Infotainment screen. Please like and subscribe to our channel and give us your feedback. We do appreciate it.